He was a slave at 9 years old. He died ruling half the earth. This is Genghis Khan, and in it are some of the greatest leadership principles I have ever read about. I mean, this book is pretty much a leadership masterclass. So what I did was take this biography and break it down into 8 principles that define how Genghis Khan led. In case you don't know that much about Genghis Khan, he started life as a 9-year-old boy, abandoned on the steppe, with no food, no tribe, and no future after his father was poisoned and his clan left his family to die. He grew up to unify every Mongol tribe that had ever existed, people who had been killing each other for generations, and then conquer everything from China to Persia to Eastern Europe in one lifetime without losing a single major campaign. But what's so interesting about Genghis Khan is not just what he did, it's how he did it. Principle 1. The wound that wouldn't heal became the mission. And I want to start here because this is where everything begins. Before any battle, before any empire, before any of it. Here's the scene. Genghis Khan at this point, just a 9-year-old boy named Temujin, watches his father get poisoned by a rival tribe, and then watches his own tribe abandon his family the very next day. Because without a strong leader, they had no use for a widow and her children. So this kid, 9 years old, is now responsible for keeping his mother and siblings alive on the open steppe. No food, no protection, nothing. They survived for years, eating roots and rats and whatever they could find. And then it got worse. A rival tribe kidnapped him and made him a slave. He escaped. His wife was kidnapped. His closest childhood friend betrayed him. Every single thing that was supposed to break him, he absorbed it and turned it into fuel. And that is the first key lesson. Because what you see when you read this biography is that every decision Genghis Khan ever made traces back to those early wounds. The obsession with loyalty because he was betrayed. The obsession with merit over bloodline because bloodline meant nothing when his tribe abandoned him. The obsession with unifying people because division is what destroyed his family. The wound never left him. He just turned it into the engine of the largest empire in history. Caesar had the same thing. His moment weeping at Alexander's statue, asking what he had done with his life, at an age when Alexander had already conquered the world, that shame became the fire that drove everything after it. Hannibal's father made him swear an oath of hatred toward Rome as a child, and that oath consumed his entire existence. And in the modern world, jobs, being abandoned by his biological parents as a baby, drove a lifelong obsession with proving his worth through the products he made. It never left him either. The wound is not the problem. The wound is the point. The question is what you do with it. Principle 2. Give power to the best person, not the most connected person. This one sounds obvious. It is not obvious. Because in the entire world that Genghis Khan lived in, every single army, every single tribe, every single civilization, rank and power went to whoever had the best bloodline. Full stop. That was just how it worked everywhere. Genghis Khan did the complete opposite. His 4 greatest generals, the men who commanded his armies across thousands of miles of conquered territory, were a former slave, a former enemy soldier, a blacksmith's son, and a man from a tribe that had literally kidnapped his wife. None of them had powerful family connections. All of them had proven themselves in battle and in loyalty. And his own blood relatives, they got nothing without earning it. His sons had to prove themselves. His brothers had to prove themselves. Family name meant absolutely zero inside his army. And what this created was an army where every single person in a position of power was actually the best person for that position. Not the most connected, the best. Think about what that does to an organization. Every person who reports to you knows they are there because they earned it. Every person below them knows the same path is available to them. The whole thing runs on results, not politics. Caesar did the same thing. He didn't care if his men were Roman patricians by birth or sons of a goat herd. All that mattered was how they fought. Napoleon promoted his marshals purely on battlefield results. Most of them came from nothing. Elon runs his companies the exact same way. Promotion at SpaceX and Tesla is based on output and results. Title and tenure mean nothing, which is why his best engineers get more done in a year than most people get done in a decade. If you want to build something great, give power to the best person every single time, even when it is uncomfortable, especially when it is uncomfortable. Principle 3. Every enemy you beat is a power upgrade. And this one is the thing that made Genghis Khan genuinely unstoppable. Not just his army, not just his tactics. Every civilization he conquered, the first thing he did was find their best engineers, their best administrators, their best merchants, their best doctors, and immediately put them to work for him. He conquered Chinese cities that had walls so thick and so tall that his cavalry was completely useless against him. So he found the best Chinese siege engineers in the world, absorbed everything they knew, and became the greatest siege warfare commander in history. His army went from having no ability to breach a walled city to being unstoppable against them. Persian administrators ran the bureaucracy of his empire better than anyone his own people could have. Muslim merchants built trade networks across the entire conquered territory. He didn't just beat his enemies, he upgraded himself using them. And that is the flip. Most leaders see a defeated enemy as a resource to be used up or discarded. Genghis Khan saw every conquest as a recruitment drive for the best talent in the world. Napoleon did the same thing. He modeled himself after Alexander, Hannibal, and Caesar, taking everything that worked from each of them and making it his own. He literally said his goal was to be the culmination of every great general before him. Amazon does this constantly. Every company they acquire, the best people, the best systems, the best technology gets absorbed and scaled immediately across the whole operation. Stop seeing your competition as something to destroy. Start seeing it as something to learn from and absorb. Every person who beats you at something knows something you don't. Find out what it is. Drop in the comments. What is one thing a competitor is doing better than you right now that you should probably just steal? Genuinely curious. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because studying your enemies, building a meritocracy, absorbing every competitor's best ideas, none of it matters if your enemy doesn't take you seriously. And the Mongols were nomads, wanderers. Every settled civilization on Earth looked at them and saw primitive horsemen living in tents. Nobody was scared of them until Genghis Khan figured out something that changed everything. Principle 4. Win the battle before it starts. This is one of the most genius things I have ever read about in any biography, and it is so simple once you see it. Before every major campaign, Genghis Khan sent messengers ahead to every city and ruler in his path. The message was always the same, exactly the same, word for word. Surrender, join us, and you will be protected. Your people will be safe. Your leaders will keep their positions. Your merchants will trade freely across the entire empire. Resist, and everything you have built will be gone. Every single person, every single wall, gone. And here's what happened. Most cities surrendered without a fight, not because they were cowards, because the reputation he had built made the math completely obvious. The cities that had resisted were gone, completely gone. The cities that had surrendered were thriving inside the empire. He won battles that never happened. Cities fell without a single arrow being fired, because the fear of what was coming was more powerful than any army. Hannibal did the exact same thing after Cannae. He didn't march on Rome. He let the terror of 70,000 Romans dead in one afternoon spread on its own. Rome's allies started switching sides without him doing anything. The fear was doing the work. Apple does this every single time they announce a new product category. Competitors start losing stock value before the product ships. The fear of what Apple might do is already winning the battle. Your reputation is a weapon, and it works 24 hours a day without you doing anything. Every result you deliver, every promise you keep, every time you do what you said you would do, it is building something that starts winning battles before they even start. I want to know, what is the reputation you are trying to build right now? Not what you want people to say about your product, what you want people to feel when they hear your name. Drop it below. So far, Genghis Khan has turned his childhood wounds into a mission, given power purely to the best people, absorbed every enemy's greatest strengths, and figured out how to win battles before they even started. And he did all of this from absolute zero. No family, no money, no backing, just him. Which brings us to the question nobody asks about Genghis Khan. How did he actually keep people together once he had them? Principle 5. The best person wins every time, no exceptions. And this one connects directly to Principle 2, but goes much deeper. Because it is one thing to say you promote on merit. It is another thing entirely to build a system where the best person winning is literally just how the whole thing works at every level. Inside Genghis Khan's army, there was a system called the decimal system. Every unit of 10 soldiers had a leader. Every unit of 100 had a leader. Every unit of 1,000 had a leader. Every unit of 10,000 had a leader. And every single one of those positions was earned through performance, not negotiated, not inherited, earned. And here's what made it genius. If a unit of 10 soldiers all deserted together, their leader was executed. If a unit leader abandoned his men, he was executed. The entire system was built around total accountability at every single level. Every person knew exactly what was expected of them. Every person knew exactly what happened if they didn't deliver. And what this created was an army where a blacksmith's son from the middle of nowhere could rise to command 10,000 men purely because he was the best at what he did. That has never existed anywhere in the world, before or since, at that scale. Caesar had the same obsession with standards. He pushed his troops maniacally hard. He marched them in the rain on holidays just to build their endurance. But he also rewarded them shamelessly when they weren't on campaign. The standard was absolute. The reward for meeting it was real. Jensen Huang runs NVIDIA the same way. 40 direct reports. No hierarchy between him and the work. Every person is accountable directly to results. No politics, no positioning, just output. If you want to build something that actually works, make the standard real, make the accountability real, and make the reward real every single time. No exceptions. That is the only way people ever actually believe the meritocracy is real. Principle 6. Never let them know where you're actually going. Okay, the Khwarezm campaign. And this is honestly one of the most tactically brilliant things I have ever read about. The Khwarezm Empire was one of the most powerful empires in the world at the time. Massive armies, massive walled cities. They knew Genghis was coming. They had time to prepare. They spread their forces across their entire territory to defend every major city simultaneously. And Genghis Khan split his army into 5 separate columns, attacking from 5 completely different directions at the same time. Not one column, 5, simultaneously, across thousands of miles of territory. The Khwarezm Shah had no idea which column was the real attack, so he tried to defend everywhere, which meant he defended nowhere effectively. His armies were spread so thin that Genghis's columns defeated them one by one before they could support each other. And while all of this was happening, one column appeared from a direction that was physically supposed to be impossible. They had crossed the Kizilkum Desert, a desert everyone agreed was uncrossable. The city of Samarkand, one of the most fortified cities in the world, fell within days. He made them defend everything, which meant they could defend nothing. Hannibal did the same thing at Cannae. The Romans thought they were pushing through a weak center. The real attack was the flanks closing around them. They were fighting the wrong battle the entire time. Amazon does this constantly. When they enter a new market, they attack from logistics, marketplace, private label, and advertising simultaneously. Incumbents can never focus their defense because there is no single front to defend against. Never fight one battle when you can force your enemy to fight 5, and never let them know which one is real. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Because everything we have talked about so far, the meritocracy, the tactics, the psychological warfare, the speed, all of it could have died with Genghis Khan the moment he was gone. And he knew it. Every empire built on one great man collapses the moment that man is gone. Genghis Khan was not willing to let that happen. And what he did about it is the most underrated thing about him. Principle 7. Build something that runs without you. Most leaders built for themselves. Genghis Khan built for what came after himself. While he was still actively conquering, he built the Yasak, a legal code that governed the entire empire. It covered everything: trade, crime, military conduct, religious tolerance, treatment of conquered peoples. It was a complete operating system for an empire spanning half the known world. He also built the Yam, a relay horse messenger system that covered the entire empire. Fresh horses at stations every few miles. A message could travel thousands of miles in days. Information moved faster than any army, which meant he always knew more than anyone else. And here's what's so genius about it. These systems kept working after he died. The empire his sons inherited had a legal code, a communication system, an administrative structure, and a military system that all ran on their own. He built the machine, not just the results of the machine. Napoleon did the same thing. The Napoleonic Code, his legal system, still forms the basis of law in dozens of countries today. He is dead. The code is not. Jobs spent his last years building Apple University, an internal leadership school specifically designed to teach Apple's culture and decision-making to the next generation of leaders so Apple could survive without him. He knew he was dying. He built the thing that would outlast him anyway. The question is not what you can build while you're here. The question is what keeps running after you leave the room. Build the system, not just the results. 8 principles, and every single one of them traces back to the same place. A 9-year-old boy abandoned on the steppe with nothing. No food, no tribe, no future. Everything Genghis Khan built, the meritocracy, the tactics, the systems, the empire, it all started there, which is why we have to end here. Principle 8. The thing that was supposed to destroy you is the thing that builds you. I want to come back to where we started, because it hits completely differently now. That 9-year-old boy eating roots and rats on the steppe. Enslaved, betrayed, wife, kidnapped, closest friend turned enemy. Every single thing that happened to him should have ended him. By every logical measure, that kid had no future, no chance, no path to anything. And he built the largest empire in the history of the world. And here's what I think is the most important thing in this entire biography. He did not succeed despite those early wounds. He succeeded because of them. The obsession with loyalty came from being betrayed. The obsession with merit came from being abandoned. The obsession with speed came from years of running and surviving. The obsession with systems came from watching everything fall apart when there were no systems. Every single principle in this video traces back to something that happened to him before he had any power at all. Caesar wept at Alexander's statue, at an age when Alexander had already conquered the world, and asked himself what he had done with his life. That shame drove everything after. Hannibal swore an oath of hatred as a child, and never once forgot it. It consumed 35 years of his life. Jobs said that getting fired from Apple was the best thing that ever happened to him, because it freed him to go build Pixar and Next, which made him the leader who came back and saved Apple. The wound is not a liability. The wound is information. It is telling you exactly what you care about more than anything else. It is showing you exactly where your obsession lives. An obsession, real obsession, the kind that comes from something that actually hurts you, is the most powerful fuel there is. Genghis Khan did not wake up one day and decide to build an empire. He woke up one day and decided that what happened to him would never happen again, to him or to anyone who followed him. That is what built the largest empire in history. Not tactics, not resources, not luck. A wound that refused to stop bleeding, and a man who turned it into a mission. What is the thing that happened to you that you have been treating as a weakness that might actually be the engine? Drop it in the comments. I read all of them. That's Genghis Khan. 8 principles from a man who started with nothing and ended with everything.